Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are at week 8 of the Bioregion in Practice second edition, and I'm happy to introduce John Thackara and Shuchin. They will be speaking with you today, and the topic is what does bioregional learning look like on the ground? So, yeah, over to you, John, and good session to everybody.
Thank you, Jan. Hello, everyone. Wonderful that you've been able to join us. I'm John Thackara. I'm an author, a curator, and an advisor whose interest in bioregioning has been long-term, but constantly shifting in emphasis. And I'm one of those people that really believes that the subject is not a very technically specialized one. It's more to do with different groups of people around the world connecting with place in different ways that are appropriate to their unique context and their unique traditions. But this series of webinars, I think, has emphasized that. And my particular niche is to bring us back. It's called on the ground, but what does it mean in practice to do this work? And what does it mean if you want to do something similar to what you've heard in the series or in your other experience might be possible to do for yourselves? So it's not a how-to thing, but how other people are doing it is my focus. And so for the next 90 minutes, I'll introduce my guest in a moment. Then we have a video of 5-6 minutes, which explains her work and her context rather well, I think. Then in part 3, we'll have a kind of questions and answers between me and Shuchin. And then we're leaving plenty of time at the end for you to be part of the discussion. And as usual, don't hesitate to put things in the chat if you want to. And we'll do our best to make sure that we don't miss those. But I just want to introduce my guest before we go on to the film. So Shuchin Sen is the principal of the Yunhe Centre in Tibet, where she's joining us from. And I want to say about 10 times today that it's something after midnight there, and I'm really super happy that she's made us the time, particularly since she has a whole building full of people at this exact moment who are demanding her time for the rest of the hours of the day. So, Shuchin, thank you so much. But
Thank you
she's,
for
in
your
her own words, a hands-on sustainability and education practitioner who focuses on innovative education, biodiversity conservation, climate action, and community sustainable development. She's been the principal of the Yunhe Centre for more than 11 years now, and this is a big part of why I'm so pleased to have her here, because my number 1, 2, and 3 secret of success is time and learning how to do it by doing it. So she has a uniquely kind of deep experience of setting up and running a centre. She's overseen this practical implementation of China's first eco-learning centre, and it's expanded, and as you'll hear a bit later, the hub network across national parks, nature reserves, and major cities, including Shanghai, and Suzhou. The centre itself has been honoured as a UN case for innovative education and sustainable development. It was selected amongst the global top 100 biodiversity best practices under the COP15, and has recently been recognized by China's, I must say, excellent Ministry of Ecology and Environment as a national model case for biodiversity-driven rural revitalization. So that's Shuchin on paper. I think we'll now go to the video, which explains rather finely her work and her group's work, and then we'll talk about that after the video. So if you'd like to play the film, Shuchin.
Yep.
Ya la ya ji su u yi da ne ji ru u
其实自然学校的这样的一个意义，就在于我们要融入到当地，融入到这个自然里，融入到这个社区当中。我们并不想占有它，因为自然当中的所有的万物实际上都有它自己的意义。 而我们是一个外来人，我们到这儿的时候，不应该是侵入的，也不应该是占有的，而是应该和他们在一起。所以当时想的是，要租下这个地方，有这所自然的学校，让这个自然的学校可以陪伴这个村子里的，陪伴村子里的孩子。那他可能也不光是讲自然、讲环境，可能也更多能承载希望这个村子一些文化、一些传承。他希望是一个平台、一个窗口，也希望是村子里的一个合作社的一个中心，可能是一个很多的形态，只是我们叫它是一所自然的学校。
我森林学校的工作也是有3年的时间。那在这个3年里面，我觉得最大的改变就是我明白了这件事情不仅仅是我自己的事情，而是大家的事情。就是它不是我自己的一个个人的一个愿望，它是因为这个愿望汇集起来的许许多多的人，包括村民，包括我们团队里面的大家共同的愿望。
Across the world, the vast rural conservation areas bear a critical role in our time. The pristine nature provides essential ecosystem service that nurtures livelihood and creates habitats for biodiversity. The communities surrounding these areas have long been stewards of these ecosystems with their wisdom, but now they're facing a big challenge. How can we develop the local economy without trespassing the planetary boundaries? Since 2015, the Yunhe Centre have been tackling this issue with an innovative model that bridges the gap between the local traditions and modern life. From learning to service, the center creates local impact through nurturing a new generations of young people with ecological mindset and practical skills. Over the past 8 years, our footsteps traveled through the majestic Himalaya Hengda mountain range, one of the world's biodiversity hotspots with flourishing cultural traditions. Education is key to empowering the rural communities. We engage young people in preserving local knowledge, restoring water resources, and promoting ecological tourism. Instilling a passion for conservation, we prepare the next generation to drive a sustainable future. Through programs like ecological design, ecological economy, and ecosystem restoration, we address local needs and engage visitors in responsible tourism. We imagine a future where nature and humans thrive together. Together with the students, designers, and ecologists, we identify opportunities to convert ecological value into meaningful local jobs and leverage the market value of ecosystem service. A portion of this income generated goes back to the community fund, supporting projects for ecological and cultural restoration. To encourage local participation, we establish community-based models. In the Genie nomadic community, we empower local women through craftsmanship cooperation and training programs for forest rangers, as well as ecotourism practitioners. Our most recent projects, the Jiaqing Eco-Learning Centre, is established under the support of the collaboration and paired assistance between the eastern and western regions. The Giant Panda National Park serves as an ideal setting for research and learning about transitioning economies. With local and international partners, we create learning programs and even host China's first ecological economy business competition. We are preparing the next generation to explore innovative ecological economic models in protected rural areas. With active care and stewardship, nature becomes sacred. We envision a future where the Eco-Learning Center model benefits more rural indigenous communities near conservation areas. And we want to inspire Chinese young people to learn, to restore, and to build a harmonious relationship between humans and the nature. Together, we can transform every green mountain and clear water into a source of wealth, opening the world's eyes to the lessons of our journeys in China.
Okay. John, I can hear you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Lovely. You get a brief glimpse of an amazing story. And there's lots of things that, in preparation, also some things I'd like to know. But I think my first question is, how did it start? Did you start with a vague idea about a center in Tibet, or was it the building, or what? Can you tell me how the project began?
Yeah, it all began when the local government in the Tibetan region, actually it is in Sichuan province, invited us to this very traditional and ancient Tibetan village to create a plan for sustainable tourism development, where our first center is. So where we were like doing field research for the plan, we find a very old house on the highest point of the village. And then our two founders decided to rent it. And with the building, we imagined it can be a center to implement our ideas that we proposed in the in the sustainable tourism development. Since in in the plan, we proposed like how community can engage in the tourism and how we can like find the local wisdom and transfer them into experience and classes and ecotourism packages for people from outside to participate. And also we imagined there can be many interdisciplinary project-based learning programs from the context of the village that can be offered to people and students from outside. And meanwhile, we can give training to the locals, especially the young people. So there are so many ideas that need like a solid way to fulfill it. So yeah, that's how we began.
So tell me what you mean by all these activities. What are your core activities today? What keeps the whole place running along? What are the main things that are the kind of core activity?
Okay, our most core activity currently are project-based learning programs, which in the video you can see there are many teenagers from China and from abroad come to participate. And apart from that, we have ecotourism packages from mainly tourists from China. And for the project-based learning programs, there are about 7 to 10 days on site. And the participants are mainly from like major Chinese cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, Beijing. And also we host teenagers from like UK, from United States. Yeah, actually, meanwhile, now we are hosting 50 students from Los Angeles. They are from the first bilingual school in America. The students speak Chinese and English. So we're hosting them like 10 days here.
Do most of these groups come from one school, or do people come as individuals?
Mostly they come as groups.
Yeah.
Say they can be school groups, they can be like from educational like organizations, and from in China, we have different these companies or organizations in cities that organize trips to faraway places. So they are all our business partners.
And when they come, a group arrives in your center. What kinds of how do they meet, and what actually do on a day-to-day basis? How do they work on these projects?
Okay. Since all our programs, they are project-based learning programs, the projects are designed under the topics we find in the village, in the communities that we work. And from our beginning, at the communities that we choose to build centers are the communities in nature reserves or national parks. So they are facing this challenge in like how to protect the environment while developing. So there are many topics we find very interesting, and I think it's also very interdisciplinary for the students to participate. Like in the Panda National Park, we have this topic to let students to imagine that they set up a company, like what products do you sell and what service do you provide, so that the local people can have a job while protecting the environment, not destroying it. So on day-to-day base, like a 7-day program, the first day they arrive, and in the night, usually we have this session to raise up the topic and to tell the students what kind of challenge the village is facing and what is our goal after 7 days. So for the the second day and third day are mainly, I think, orientation. Especially the second day, we have this ceremony for the students to participate. They are usually like rituals to say hello to the village, and we have these students will like hike in the village and observe, and then we give them lessons on how to like ask questions as like an anthropologist, how to observe, how to design your questions. And then, the participants will design their questions. And for the third day, mainly they start doing the field research. So in the field research is let them to find the real problem. The real problem is not what we tell them, is what they observe and find in the village. And then the participants would divide into different groups since they have different proposals. Some of them, they may like to set up companies, they may have different ideas. Some wants to do tourism, some wants to sell agriculture products. So they divide into different groups, and from then they will start developing their proposal. Proposal.
Can you give me an example of, when they do this kind of vast program, have there been any products or companies or activities coming out of that have gone on to be successful and to grow that you are, happy to share with us?
Yes. Yes, it's not in the question list, but I have this prepared. Yes,
Seeds.
but
I said seeds of people born at the unit that's grown into a healthy plant. Yes.
okay. Actually, I can show you some of the works from the students, but it takes some time. Yes. It's all in Chinese, but I can show you
Show us a
to.
couple. I think we have
Yeah, I will
time.
show you
We'd
just a
like to
couple
know.
of the works from the students. They are from a group of high school students. It's a field research report.
Mhm.
I think it can just show you an idea how they make their investigation. So these students, they find a very interesting um, um, problem in the field is they find there are many fields that are how to say no, it's not farming. People don't farm on these fields, on this land. So they are very curious why locals they don't farm on these fields. Yes, so these are all how they designed questions, and they read some articles, essays for them to better understanding the question, and they find a key person to ask, like the party secretary of the village, like the key person in the village. Yeah, and then they have this. And then they have these answers they get, like different government policies from different years, and they have these information sheets. Yeah, they had the information from the villagers, and they have also this resource diagram of the village. Yeah, it come out there from the questions they ask the village, and also like a calendar. Yes, so then they find there are multiple reasons why the locals they don't farm nowadays. Lack of labor, and there are more nature disasters, and locals find farming earns very little, while if you open up a guest house, you earn more. So the students find many reasons connected to the phenomenon they see in the village. So this kind of diagram will lead to the next step is they will raise a proposal from the problem they find on site, in the field. So this is one of it. Let me see.
So I'm just whilst you're looking for the next one. I do a bit of teaching in China. If anybody with us this evening says that's a lot of work for 1 week, I can promise you Chinese students, well, all students can find out an amazing amount in a short amount of time when given the opportunity to do so. So I can totally see they would get a very good, understanding of complex subjects in a few days. It's so impressive.
Yes, so for that kind of program, we also invite experts who have already doing
Ah,
the community work for more than 20 years. So with that help, support, the students are I think they're doing well. And for this program, it's from a group of students. They are very interested in the Sichuan pepper. It is the main economic crop in the village where our center is. So they are trying to find if there is another way to if there is another possibility to have the Sichuan pepper not only as crops but as products. So yeah, okay. So they designed a, let me see, the Sichuan pepper flavored candle.
right. Okay.
Yes, and they also have this marketing strategy and the SWOT analysis. Yeah, and the students really they realized the idea and they gave the candle back to the village 1 year after they had this proposal. Okay, so
No, I think we get a good picture. It's really
okay.
very helpful. And I guess my next question would be that they do this work, they come for a week or 10 days, they make a proposal.
Mhm.
Once they've done that, have any new relationships between the village and the city emerged, or new kinds of relationships have been started by their visit to you?
Okay, I think the program or the proposal that you just saw are like small pieces
Mm-hmm.
we have on the ground. But I think in all, I would like to introduce more of the question that John, I think you asked earlier,
Mm-hmm.
like what kind of good plant, healthy plant, born at Yunhe grow into a healthy plant? For this question, I want to answer more, and it
Okay.
relates to your next question. Yes. So I think in the video I just played, um, you may notice the Yunhe Centre, the model we have on site. Um, the reason why we choose to have all these project-based learning programs for students to participate is that as a social enterprise, after we established the Yunhe Center 11 years ago, actually at first what we do is we collaborate with Chinese NGO and experts on site to how to say, to find a model for this sustainable development of the village. So the model we find is the eco service economy model, because in the village that we built our center in the Tibetan village and also the village in the Panda National Park, they all face the same problem. In the past, the villagers, they do mining and logging to earn money. And now we are thinking, by using the same nature resource, what kind of new products can happen? And the product is something that the market also needs. So with that with that idea, we tried many different like programs. Yeah. So, and in the end, we find actually the research we're doing with the NGO, with interdisciplinary experts from ecology, from community development, from economy, from many different fields, the thing itself can be a real classroom for people to participate. And then we also find the needs in the market. Is that maybe you know Chinese education. We are Chinese students are very diligent in the classroom, and we have very big pressure to pass exams to high school and to university. And I think Chinese parents, they don't really pay much attention on how important for the students to engage in real social practice. So it leads to many problems in the kids, especially in the AI era. It becomes more and more significant. So then the program, we find that we can use the real challenge in the village to be a project-based learning for students to participate, become a very popular one among the schools and among the parents. Because they realized, yes, our kids should not be only learning in the classroom, in the real world, by facing the problem the village is facing. The students, it encouraged the students to use what they learn in the classroom and to relate themselves to the real world. And it's also how to say, raise the passion in the kid to pursue their way. Yes, and not to say there are many students nowadays are facing mental illness in the school because of the pressure. So it also becomes necessary for the kids to bring them to the nature. So this, I think, it is a seed from the village, and then it grows into a business model. And the product we provide is a project-based learning based on real challenges the village is facing, and the program itself becomes a good educational program for the students to participate, and it becomes a healthy plant now.
Okay.
Yes.
So do I understand you correctly that the experience of being there in the village by itself is a value for the students because they
Yes.
learn, they experience a different place of living, different ways of knowing and being. The villages, by being hosts, they are exposed to new ideas and new people, as well as some income from hosting them. So the actual
Right.
outcomes are not more important than the experience itself of the people coming to this new community. Is that what, do I understand you correctly in that?
Yes. Yes. Mm.
That's right. So fascinating because the world is filled with people who say we must teach them how to kind of package their food differently or to make products, but actually just by being there and being open-minded and being exposed to a different context, that by itself is an educational value for both sides. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So uh, I guess that's what my next question was going to be. What
Mm.
or the people who come, what value do they take away? I think you've answered that question. They take away they've taken away from the pressure of exams and classroom teaching back in the city. They've had experienced something different. They take away the awareness that there is another way to be and to learn. Is that one way to think about it? One of the things they take away?
Yes. And we find it's very interesting because the students, they're also, in school, they are learning knowledge that is already outdated. But in the fields, they are in the front line that emerging new knowledge.
Mm.
While we are inviting students to do the eco-service economy research, no matter they are doing documentary, they are doing the business proposal. I think they are innovating something very new in the front line. Like how, yeah, and the 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 how to say the report or the materials we use on site is also I think international. Like we will use 世界经济论坛 World Economics Forum report as one of the material for the students to learn about nature first economic development model.
Yeah.
And we will also have the students to see different cases in other countries on how they develop by utilize the nature resources in a good way. And also the 这个甜甜圈 donut economy. For example, donut economy is one model we introduce to the students on site. So, and they will also like relate themselves into the Chinese government policies like rural revitalization and 绿水青山, the two mountains uh, theory.
What is the two mountains? Tell us what I love the idea of a two mountains theory. It's different from the policy language that we're used to in the north.
Okay. I don't know how to translate it into English.
Okay,
Sorry.
I want to come back though, because I think we don't have so much time.
Yeah,
You've
sorry.
explained kind of this amazingly variety of things that they do, that the experience of being in a different context is as much of the value as what they actually produce. I think quite a lot of people here this evening or today have centers or places that they would like maybe to attract groups to for similar experiences. Can you share how do people find out about your centers? How do you find these groups?
Okay. Actually, we had international groups before we had Chinese groups. For that, we went to like WTM, World Travel Market in London, and ITB in Berlin. And we joined WYSTC, and it is like a educational student travel association in England. And from there, we encountered, or I have to say, European like travel agencies and schools. They find us. They know that we're doing something interesting. And for the China market, actually, we opened the China market after COVID because then at that time there are many international schools, they cannot send their students abroad. So they were trying to find interesting community the programs in China. So they called us and we also started to find them. Yeah. And then now we are trying to use social media for the Chinese, the families and schools and organizations to find us. So in China, we actually every day we make short videos to introduce our programs, to introduce our centers, and for the people to find us. And now we are reset our English website and Facebook and Instagram because we are feeling there will be a very big opportunity to receive international students from abroad.
So I think just for the benefit of our guests and the other people here tonight, it's a fairly mature system in China for sending groups abroad, right? So there is an infrastructure of agents and intermediaries who do that for many years. So you haven't invented a market, but you've invented the opportunity for them to come to Tibet and have an experience in this China rural community. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go on some practicalities because I said at the beginning, it's all very marvelous, but how do you do it on a day-to-day basis? How many people do you have in your team to run this operation, or who are the key people that you have to do the work of hosting and organizing this activity?
We have about 7 people as a group, but then we have many part-time teachers, and we have a web of schools and experts, university professors that are supporting us. And for our team, the core team consists of members responsible for daily operations, marketing, communication, and curriculum development, and the management of the center.
Can I mention money? So, okay, you have all these people doing amazing work and having good experiences. You have local people, you have a core team. Where does the income for your center come from?
The income for the center, as I just introduced, are from the programs we offer to the schools and the families, the students. Yes.
And are they basically on top of what they would spend for education, or is it if it's a family sending somebody, it's part of their sort of annual expenditure on their child's education, or is it extra money? Is it like a luxury activity or seen as a necessary cost?
I think for us is to find the right niche market. Um, like there are families, they think it is a must for their kids to have this kind of education. So we are trying to find that kind of families. And then a very clear market is international schools where these Chinese students need to have activity experience where they applying for universities abroad. And we find that is a good match with our program.
So it's part of, if you have a CV or a portfolio to apply to a university, this is a good thing to have on your portfolio.
Yes. And I think nowadays, as more and more Chinese families, the parents, they realized how important for the kids to go to nature, how important, how useless is the education for just to pass the exam. They realize the importance for the kids to have this kind of programs. So we find the market is growing.
Are we talking about like 5% of Chinese parents or 50% of Chinese parents? What is your feeling about how big a move this is?
Uh, I I think since China is very big, I think we are like 10%.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people. Okay, yeah, a lot of
10%,
families.
5%. Yes, sorry. Yeah. We haven't calculated.
No, but
And
it's to do with whether for what want to for the people here tonight to know
okay.
that it's not like an exotic weird thing. It's actually 10% is a lot of families thinking that
Mhm.
nature connection is important for their children, and they
Yes.
can justify the cost by
Mhm.
putting it onto their CV of their child, who can then maybe have a better chance of getting into a desirable university. Is that sort of how it would work? Okay.
Yes.
In terms of just coming back to the how you operate things, who are your local partners? You mentioned your core team, but who are your most local collaborators to run the center? What kind of organizations or people are important?
First, it is the Village Cooperative. Yes. So we are a social enterprise. We work with the Village Cooperative for all the services the village provide. So every time one group come, we will just provide a list of how many rooms we need, how many like guides from we need, how many the workshop guide leaders we need from the local drivers. So the local village cooperative, they receive the list, they will give the jobs to different people. And
That's yeah.
we pay directly to the village cooperative to their account.
Oh, so you have a village is like a supplier of all these different services, and they organize the individual drivers and teachers and so on. Fascinating.
Yes, yes.
Is that
And
something that does the village, were the village able to answer your needs at the beginning, or have they had to learn also how to do it, how to work with you as you've grown?
yeah, it is a long process. It is a
Uh,
long process
mm,
to find the right person to communicate with
mm.
and um to have the people, the villagers, know how important that every good service brings more clients the next time. It
Right.
needs time for us to realize. Yes.
When you say time, we're talking about years, not months, right? So we're talking
Years,
about,
years.
yeah.
Yes.
I've become very boring on this subject. I've decided that more or less all the successful organizations I meet in the world have been doing it for at least 10 years. It takes 10 years to learn how to do things. And in your case,
Yes.
the village has to learn as well. It's not just the center, but also your collaborators are learning at the same time how to do it.
Yes, and and also I think you need to wait the right time for the things to ripen. In China, we have the saying that you have to wait for the right time, right people, uh, and right right environment.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we find the first center we established, the right moment comes after 10 years.
right.
Yes.
So I think we talked about this before, that somebody told me there are 2 million villages in China that theoretically could need some sort of, be an opportunity for city people to go to. That's an awful lot of learning to be done by the village committees or the people who would do that. So you have the distribution and the organizing of jobs is possible through the local committee, but they have to learn how to do it. You can't just bring them up. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. Actually, it takes a lot of time. If the leader in the community is strong enough, then they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If not, or the leader is not 公平, fair enough,
Mm.
so it has many problems.
I can imagine.
Yes.
You're doing such a brilliant job, and you did such. But let's do 5 more minutes of our discussion, and then we'll open it up to the group. We have a little 5 minute break, I think. In
Okay.
5 minutes from now, we'll have a 5 minute break for Shuchin to recover, and then for everybody else
No problem.
to get their story straight. But a couple more questions, if I can.
Mm.
So you've been doing this, am I right, for 11 years? What are the most important things you've learned about success? What works after 11 years?
I think it's making connections. I think we are weaving a very big web. Making connections means to meet needs of different 这个利益相关方 the parties, different parties. Yes.
Mhm.
So here we have the local community, we have the local government, and we have the market there in the city, the parents, the anxious parents, and the schools. So we need to find the connection. The connection meets at the programs we provide. How to use the program to meet different needs is to translate the different needs into one program. If we can make that connection, then it can work. Yes.
And so that is not something, another way of saying it's not a model. The Yunhe Centre is not a model you can just apply anywhere in the world. Every situation is unique. Is that right? That you have to make connections that are unique to that place. You can't just say, "Here, I like a McDonald's hamburger," and it's not like that at all.
No, and we find it is very complex to do this kind of work. So in China, there are many, like there can be government, local government, communities, nature reserves, and companies ask us to do the same thing in their place.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
but the most important thing for us to check if whether it's ready or not is to find if they have people. Because it really needs people to be on site
Yeah.
to make these things possible. I don't think the things we do are that complicated, are that yes, it's just do it. But they needs people to really do it.
2 more questions, then we'll have a little break. So, if you could go back 5 years, what would you do differently? I could have said 11 years, but nobody can remember what they were doing 11 years ago. But five, if you could go back 5 years, is there one thing you would do differently than you did do?
I think they are also related to making connections. I think 5 years ago, we don't know much how we can have the support from the government because we don't know their language, the policies. And at that time, we don't do social media that well, and we don't realize the importance.
Oh, yeah.
So that we cannot making connection with the families and individuals in the city. And at that time, we even don't know very well why the students come to our center. Because at first we were very curious why all the students come to our center. They are all from international schools. We don't know why. And then we check with the teacher why, and then we find out, oh, they are trying, they need this experience. So these are all about knowing the other side.
So that's okay. So that's a good lesson to learn. It's not so easy to repeat that, but okay. Um, right now, it's such a rich story you told us. What is your biggest source of inspiration at the moment? What is giving you the most positive energy at the moment?
I think is to see the emerging many new plants emerging. Okay. The plants, so they are also from different parties. One plant is from the young people from the city. We find there are many there were more and more students that once they were high school students participating in our program, now they become university students or they are now start to work. They are becoming internships and they become volunteers in our in our social enterprise. This is new plants. And then we find there's no plants from the government support side. Since now China is welcoming more foreigners to travel in China and visa free, and it also give us hope. What we did 11 years ago, now it's a good timing to grow it. And then we also find more and more young people, local young people, they now realized there can be more possibilities in the village and they can find job in the village. I think Yunhe Center is a model for them to see you can earn money in your village and you can do tourism, you can provide different kind of service. And it's also like new plants emerging. So all the new things happening now give us hope after now it's the 11th year.
Final question before our break. So how do you as a social enterprise in China bring the different stakeholders together to have the best impact? After this 11 years of experience, you're dealing with so many different people. How do you get these different people to collaborate with you and with each other?
I think the reason in the end is they find we are doing something right. We are doing something good in the right. I don't know how to this. Yeah. When we talk to teachers, families, students, we let them know how their kids can find their passion in this kind of projects. When we talk to the government, we let them to know how this kind of projects can help the rural revitalization and to help to the locals to get job opportunities. and also to fulfill their KPI. Okay. And then, yeah, mm, I think it's, yeah, I don't know if it answer your question.
No, but I think
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does. And just for the
Okay.
benefit of people here, KPI is one of those, it's a global word meaning key performance indicator. And it's like the burden that everybody carries around, teachers and students and
Mm,
parents. And it's
yes.
just, yeah, there are
And
too
I
many
want to
KPIs.
emphasize.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to emphasize. If we say KPI, I think there is KPI. We should. It's a something in reality. People have this burden, and we help them to lessen the burden by our work, so they accept our work, and then also we fulfill their good willing.
Yeah.
The best officer we work with the government is they have good willing. The best
Yeah.
teacher we find, and also the American teacher, the teacher who brought 50 students to the village now,
Yeah.
the key person is a American girl who did her field research in the village just next to me
Ah.
5 years ago, and we
Oh,
know each
fantastic.
other, and she know my work, and
Yeah.
I know her, and
Hmm.
then I think with two good willing combined together, we had a successful trip for 15 students from Los Angeles. So one hand is KPI, one hand is goodwill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic. You're really a wonderful communicator, and it's the middle of
Thank you.
the night. We're going to have a 5-minute comfort and or silence break. It's actually on the hour, whatever hour you're in, unless you're in India or something, which will. But in 5 minutes from now, we'll start again. Is that everybody comfortable with that? And then Suchin will see meet the other people from who are here tonight, and we'll hear their questions and comments. So see you all in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We've got another 20 minutes or so before we do the wrap up at the end. I've been talking. Shuchin has done an incredible amount of talking. Any comments or questions about what you've heard so far about bioregioning in practice in the context of a village in Tibet?
John, meanwhile, I have a question. What's
Yeah.
your connection with Shuchin? How did you connect?
I think we met for the first time in Chedun Town. Is that correct? Did we meet before that?
Yes.
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 So a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, I go to China 2 or 3 times a year, mainly to look at examples of urban-rural reconnection. So my main work there is kind of looking for examples of people doing interesting things to connect the rural and the urban together. So Shuchin and I are both in a project called Design Harvests, which is a more organized version of that, called not just looking for examples of urban rural things, but designing them, making them happen. And so we had a meeting in this kind of peri-urban small town, not far from Shanghai, but on the edge of it, in a kind of semi-rural, semi-urban situation. And we had, I think, 40, 45 people came together to discuss this subject. And we invited 5 or 6 professionals, of which Shuchin was one of them, who were, so to speak, already doing it. And so we had somebody else was from a bio farm in the rural area, people doing learning journeys, people doing retreats. So 4 or 5 professionals who were there as evidence that this world is already started. It's not something we're starting from scratch. So that's where I met Shuchin, and we sat out in a rather windy terrace and did a first interview about her work. And I was so impressed and inspired by the way she told the story that's why I asked her to come back tonight. So because what you're hearing is it's 11 years of experience, but it's really, not an easy thing to start or to do. I hope you've got that impression. And I just thought it was so important to hear from somebody who's actually done it for that kind of serious amount of time about what works and so on. So that's how we met. So, and I'm very happy we did.
That's wonderful. So if anybody wants to just unmute yourself or write in the chat. I saw that Sylvia wrote a question. I can read it. There's
Please.
no people to work in the countryside. Why? Not sure if you want to elaborate more on that, Sylvia, or if you got that, John.
Well,
I'm not
here
sure.
is the same in South America. I think it's because the young people goes to the school, and in the school there is no important to work in the land.
Mm.
The other side of the world is China. So I'm asking, is the same than here?
Well, Shuchin, I think what you were saying was that, yes, it has been true that, of course, a lot of young people have left their villages and gone to the city for the last generation, but that what you're describing is signals that is changing. Do I understand correctly what you were saying to us?
Yes. Yeah, I've sensed the signal of changing. Young people are coming back. Yes. They see yeah, sorry.
Yeah, what I've learned is that there's a difference between what people would like to do and what they think is practically possible. So I've spent many years discovering that people would like to have a life in the rural areas, even if part-time, but they can't figure out how to do it. They have children, they have a job, they have a flat in the city. So that's all the reasons why they don't feel they can do it. But I think what is happening is that people like Shuchin are creating opportunities for people to work in rural situations which weren't there before, but also that people are creating their own opportunities. I think that people figure out they can run a tourism business, they can run a food business, they can all sorts of things. There's a lot of interest, but there's little dots need to be connected together for these things to become real. I think that's my own observation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does anybody else? Here we go. Mike Pryor, who I can't see on the screen, says, you mentioned a nature-first economic model. Could you say a little more about that, please? That's a good question. What is a nature-first economic model?
I don't know if I translate it right or not. That is we put the sustainable of nature hand in hand with the sustainable economics development, and the sustainable development of economics is based on the sustainable nature resource.
I think your special situation is that you're next to big ecological reserves, like the Panda Park, for example, which is sort of big protected areas with government controls and so on. But you're operating just outside them, where the normal model would be tourism and people coming to visit, as tourists, and you're exploring other ways of village people making a living. Is that right?
Yes, the traditional way is mining.
Right.
Yes.
That's quite fascinating. We'll come back to mining, and then I've got Claudia. Was the village always receptive to hosting the students? Were there any complexities around the arrival of new ideas and habits? And how does that influence young people in the village? Do they become more interested in leaving or more interested in staying? Great question, actually, because what were the realities of when you started? Did everybody welcome you, or some people had questions?
Yes. At first, I think people say we are like a boss because our founder is from Beijing. So there's a rumor from in the village that is a big boss from Beijing is renting a house in our village and want to transform it into a guest house and to earn money. And it's a rumor. This rumor remained like 1 or 2 years the first time we arrived. Um, yes, so I think in the beginning, people are like local people are watching and observing what we're doing, and it is something so how to say different for their experience 11 years ago. Yes, so it needs time for both sides to know each other and finally through trial and error conflict quarrels and happy and then become together. Yes.
But it is, of course, true that there are big Mr. Biggs or Mrs. Biggs in the cities who see an opportunity with people wanting to connect with nature. It's not as if it's an imaginary question. There's a lot of people thinking, we'll open up a nature reserve or a nature hotel and people can have that. 70% of people in a survey that I saw would like to go on an ecological holiday without knowing very much what it meant. But there's a huge demand for something called connecting with nature. Whether it's really connected with nature or something is a separate question, but it's not like, it is a known phenomenon.
Mm. And I think Claudia also have this question, how does that influence young people in the village? I think now we are since we have had the center running for 11 years. Actually, at first, the young people we recruit on site, their families don't agree that their kids work in our center because they think our center will close anytime that it cannot work. They don't think it's a proper job. Yes. So I think it's after these years they find the center is still alive and it becomes bigger and it has more students coming. So they have more confidence for the young people to work with us.
It's so important, that question about this, the parents and the students, people. Anyway, thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
Maria said,
Thank you.
I'm curious about the role of intergenerational efforts and how the work supports that reconnection with both cultural aspects of the region that are held by different generations. She says, my sense from these conversations is that culture often plays a critical role. Curious about what you've learned and discovered on this. That's the Maria Telesh question. Yeah, has culture been one of the kind of threads that holds the project together?
Sorry, I'm still trying to understand the question.
You read the question calmly and I will shut up.
And how the work supports that reconnection with, sorry, how the work supports that place that the culture often plays a critical role. Are you asking how our role as integration, how we do it?
I think the question is whether the older people and the younger people in the village have the same relationship to place, and are they kind of influencing each other? And has your arrival with these outside people changed people's expectations about the way they relate to place?
Uh, I think it's very interesting question. One one thing I see is that in our program we have this ritual to pay our respect to the mountains, the holy mountains around us. So in the past, it is the old people who are doing the ritual, and young people, when we arrive, actually not that many young people are interested in that kind of ritual. They think it's outdated. But because of our program, we need the translator of the local ritual into the modern language. So someone in the village, young people, has to translate it. Then we find the young people who is doing the translation gradually become interested in the ritual and in many things in the village. And then she become very good interpreter of the village, the rituals, the culture to the outside people. And then now sometimes she herself is doing the ritual, the mountain worship ceremony. So here I see this how to say the pass down of the local wisdom. But it's not naturally in the old ways that old people tell young people and they have this transmission. Now no, because young people don't think it's something work, but it's our engagement as a program, educational program, as a social enterprise. It is a product. We are doing the work, but it has the chance for the young people to expose to something in the village, and it's reconnect the old
So
and the
can I,
young.
do I understand you correctly that these 50 high school students from Los Angeles will go and pay their respects to the mountain? That's part of their program?
Yeah, they already paid their respect.
Oh yeah? Fantastic.
Yes.
And they just take they do this normally. Are they shocked or do they take it naturally?
I think I think it broadens people's views, how
Yes.
we see nature. Because in the Tibetan village, they see the mountain has life. It
Mm,
has a mountain goddess.
mm,
Yes, and how the locals see nature, how they see the different lives are equal. It's it's kind of it's broadens the view, and it kind of like healing to the people from the city.
mm. This word healing is so strong because just in a different the context of the other side of the world in Scotland, where I was learning about a meeting where people from an area in the Highlands of Scotland were sharing their knowledge about songs and poetry that different generations used to describe the land. And just sharing that knowledge in a room, somebody told me that you could feel the healing in the room. That people, it's like not like so strange and crazy. They said they've been missing that, and this kind of you're providing something which they know they need, but without being able to put it into words. So the healing word, I think,
Yes,
is very powerful.
yes. So I saw people crying in that ceremony just
Hmm.
because they hear the sound of the old man from the village, just because we are paying respect to the mountain, and this is so rare.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
Did you see Mike has another comment about um, how interesting that you're helping young people engage in traditional ritual and real world social practice as opposed to AI. So yeah, do you emphasize that when you're telling people before they come that they will be involved in local ritual? Is that something that they can prepare
Yes,
for, or you prepare them for that? Yeah.
yes. And it is the first thing they arrive. Is the second day in the morning, the first thing they do.
Really? Wow.
Mm,
So that sets the spirit for the whole period of their visit, right? So yeah,
yes.
very beautiful. Thank you.
Mm. There was insight on the role of reconnecting and remembering what it means to be in the region, the place, and the land, the sustain and nourish sunlight, the healing, and the rituals and parts. Beautiful way, so beautiful. Thank you, Maria. Can you share tools you use to help students find their topic of focus? Okay. Jessica is asking, can I share some tools I use to help the students find their topic of focus? Yes, we have some tools. One, I think there are several steps we will do. One is before the students come, we will do a short interview or survey to know the students better. Like what subjects is the students interested in and good at, and what activities the students engaged mostly in the city. So for that, and what is he or she her goal for the future? What kind of job she like? What kind of discipline she's interested in? This is something we will do beforehand, and then on site. On site, with the basic knowledge of the students, on site we have this session for the students to share after they do the field research. Then we, as teacher, we will realize what is the thing the student is interested in, and some students will naturally say what kind of project she's interested in doing from their interest, and it connects to the need from the community. So these also help us to find the students' focus, topic of focus. So something very important is to do a real field research for the students to observe and to ask questions. And then they themselves find the needs or the challenge the village is facing. You're welcome.
Just to say that probably we have time for one more question.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jan. Okay, one more question, everybody.
And if you have any wrap-up thoughts, John, and then of course Shuchin, also insights or anything that you
So
want
I
to
will
share.
say a few. We'll do it in first me and then Shuchin. So if there's anything you wanted to say that you forgot, or I forgot to ask you, your chance is now. But can I just say to you, thank you for being here, and thank you for being such an inspiring person. And I was kind of curious as to what kind of picture we could get of. I've never been to your village. I don't know Tibet, but I have a rather good understanding now of what's been happening and why people are keen to go there. So thank you for your work and for your colleagues and your network. I know there are many other people involved. And if there's anything that this group can do for you, now is the time. Perhaps you could share that. Is there anything we can help you with your project?
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, everyone. I think one thing is I really would like our students, Chinese students, to see different examples from different countries, maybe from the people here in this meeting. I think we would like to let our students to learn and to know the universal problems that are facing, and also if there's something young people from our side part and from your side, they can do some work together. I think it can be also very encouraging for the young people. And then we also welcome you and maybe your family or your group or people from your country to our center. So if you have this connection, it's also very helpful for me, for us. Yeah, thank you. And I'm so thankful for John. I told him that my English become better in the midnight. Actually, I think the first time we meet, because I hadn't the chance to speak English for a very long time. I think with my broken English back then, he somehow gets what we are doing. Yes, and for us to have this chance to share our experience, trial and errors, what we do in China to more people here in the meeting. I'm so happy to have this chance. And also thank you for Yan for organizing this. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Sid. We will definitely do work to connect all the people's interests. Yeah. Jan, over to you to close the session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shuchin and John. I see that many people are appreciating your session. Thank you so much. Just a couple of reminders that we have the dialogue group on Thursday with Aline. John, I know that you usually like to join those. Feel free to join. You'll get a reminder on your email. And next week we have the Tuesday session, week 9, and then so we only have a couple more. So invite your colleagues to join us and just enjoy these next couple lessons. It's been really nice to have these moments with you. It's nice to see you, Isabel. Do you want to say something? I see that you are on mute.
I've really enjoyed this session. I've learned so much. I do understand the power of real world problem solving and getting particularly young people into situations, probably in the countryside, where they're presented with a whole range of different conundrums, problems, issues to look at and solve. I know how much fun that is. And you've reminded me, Shuchin, about how powerful that is. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm leaving my email in the chat box.
Thank you.
So yeah, if any of you want to contact me, yes, you're very welcome to send email.
Thank you very much.
I think it's time that she has a whole building full of people behind her, and she has it at the middle of the night or the middle of the early morning. So thank you. Sleep well for what's left of your night, Shuchin.
Thank you.
And we'll speak again soon.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, Yan. Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye. Yes.